All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about what George Kambosos' promoter Lou Dibella had to say about the Devin Haney George Kambosos negotiations going flat, and pretty much blast Devin Haney and Devin Haney fans and said, "Stop lying. This happened. This did not happen." Let's talk about what Lou Dibella had to say in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about the Devin Haney George Kambosos fight that went flop and what Lou Dibella had to say about it in an exchange that he had on Twitter. Devin Haney jumps into it as well. So it's a whole bunch of, he said, she said, but going to share what he said because it contradicts a lot of what assumptions that people are making and things that are being said about the negotiation. So this is pretty much what he said, what Lou Dibella said. He said, first of all, Devin Haney turned down an offer. And this was in response to somebody saying, look, why would if Devin is paying for the fight, if Devin and Eddie Hearn are paying for the fight, why would they price themselves out? Lou Dibella responded and said that that's not true, that Eddie Hearn has never did not make an offer to them, that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom were not paying for the fight, and that Lou Dibella made an offer and George Kambosos made an offer to Devin Haney, and Devin Haney turned the fight down. That is radically different than what people have been saying, have been going on for the last week, which was this, or last couple weeks, which was this, that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom were funding the fight, that they were the ones that are going to put up the money for the fight, and they're the ones that are going to make an offer to George Kambosos, and that is how the fight is going to get made. Now, I'm not sure where that came from. I do believe that it came from Bill Haney, or at least I was told that it came from Bill Haney on some interviews that he gave. But like I said, I have not heard it. And also, there are things that Bill Haney says that if you really listen to it carefully, can be interpreted in multiple ways. So I had never actually heard him say that Eddie Hearn was going to make the fight, was going to pay for the fight. I think that is an assumption that a lot of people made. But Lou Dibella shot that down and said, no, we sent an offer to Devin and they turned it down. Devin, for his part, said, no, what offer? Who did you make this offer to? I did not see an offer. However, this is where I am on it, and I think this is the most realistic way to look at it. Eddie Hearn, who is an interested party in that he is the promoter of Devin Haney. Now, there is Devin Haney Promotions, so Devin Haney does have his own promotional company. However, as it relates to Matchroom, the go-between to DAZN, the go-between for DAZN and Devin Haney is Eddie Hearn. And what Eddie Hearn said was earlier in the week that Devin Haney can't price himself out of the fight, that he has been making a lot of money in a lot of his fights. And so he is going to be a really smart kid and realize that he has to make less money in order to get this George Kambosos fight done. That is what Eddie Hearn said, not Lou Dibella, not Devin Haney, not Bill Haney. That is what Eddie Hearn said. If Eddie Hearn brings the point up about Devin needing to get a lower payday in order to make the fight, that is telling you that the Devin Haney's salary and the money that he's going to want to make is an issue in making the fight. Now, that is not to say that we know for sure that Lou Dibella could not have lowballed the guys so far that it was an unreasonable amount of money to offer a guy for a fight. However, Devin Haney is saying he didn't receive any offer. So since Devin is saying he didn't receive an offer from them, then it can't be a question of the offer that was received being a lowball. So either Lou Dibella is flat out lying, and saying something about making an offer that was refused and just pulling that just out of thin air and making it up for the sake of making it up. But he's also saying that they never received an offer from Eddie Hearn. We know that that is the truth because Eddie Hearn himself said that he is working on some packages that may be able to get the fight done. That's what Eddie Hearn said, that he was working on he thinks he has some packages that will help get the fight done. Eddie Hearn said that. If Eddie Hearn is working on some packages that might get the fight done, that tells you that he has not made an offer to George Kambosos and supports what Lou Dibella is saying. Now, whether or not Devin Haney would know about it and who he sent the offer to, it's obvious that why Devin Haney wouldn't get a copy of that offer, or because at least not from Lou Dibella, because Lou Dibella is not going to send an offer to Devin Haney. Lou Dibella is going to send an offer to Eddie Hearn, the promoter, the guy that's working with DAZN, right? So Eddie Hearn, who is the guy that has said 3 days before the negotiations collapsed that Devin Haney is going to have to take less money to make the fight. That sounds to me like he's having conversations with Lou Dibella. Another thing that Lou Dibella said was that, look, man, this is something I think is true because I know I get a bad rap from people about being a Devin Haney hater and this, that, and the other thing. But look, when people are talking about it and making negotiations and saying how much money is getting offered to this person and that person, although I don't mind the conversation, it's fun banter to have in a boxing forum, because that's what this is, and a lot of boxing channels are. There are boxing forums where people get together and they talk about whatever information is out there just to carry on the conversation about boxing. It benefits fighters because it keeps their name active and keeps their name involved in conversations when they're not actually fighting, which is why, side note here, I don't understand Terrence Crawford for the life of me. Dude, if you think people shouldn't talk about you at all when you're not fighting, you don't ever expect for people to watch your fights. But regardless, that's what it is. But when you're talking about what the actual negotiations are and what's offered and what's really being offered and all that, 99 times out of 100 times, 99 out of 90 times, that stuff is happening behind closed doors with lawyers that are sitting there reviewing the contracts between the two parties. They're on the phone talking about all kind of different details. That is the actual negotiation that is taking place. What one person says on a talk show, or on a live stream, or somebody may give fleetingly to a media guy, those are not the negotiations that are taking place. So when Lou Dibella says something like, look, the fact that people are out here negotiating, talking all this stuff in the media is pretty much saying that they don't want the fight. Because if they were really trying to make the fight, then everything would go silent. They would sit down, they would negotiate it, and they would get the fight done. Similar to what's going on with Jamal Charlo and Canelo Alvarez. Those guys are not running back. They're not running out in the media talking about what's going on. This is how much, that's how much, this is when, and doing all of that. They're not doing it. They're being quiet. Mike Coppinger will leak something. Somebody else may leak something like how much the contract is for. You get leaks here and you get leaks there. But like Lou Dibella said, when people are in the media talking about it and saying, oh, send me the dude, a lot of that is just for show. And a lot of that stuff is to save face. At least that's the way that I take it. That's the way that Lou Dibella, responded to it. But at the end of the day, man, and I've said this before, this makes on one side for Devin Haney to take a pay cut to fight George Kambosos. That would mean he would have to put undisputed, his desire to be undisputed, over millions of dollars that he can get for fighting for not undisputed. And at the end of the day, Devin Haney is a bright guy. Bill Haney is a bright guy, and they are not going to give away. They're not going to pay $2-3 million in order to be considered the undisputed champion. And if they don't make them an offer where they're going to make a big payday for that fight with George Kambosos, they're not going to take the fight. But what happens is then, because of all the conversation that's going on in the media and all the your cap this and this dude's ducking me this and ducking me that. The reality, which is behind closed doors, is going to contradict the show that's going on Twitter and YouTube, and it's going to make it look like there's some hypocrisy going on. But that's only if you really do buy into and believe all this stuff that's being said about everybody. Like, for example, I don't think, like, I would not say that if Devin Haney did not, for him to take a pay cut, dude, I understand full well why he wouldn't want to take a $2-3 million pay cut in order to fight for Undisputed over there in Australia. There's nothing unreasonable about that. The only problem with that is that when you get into public and you start saying Kambosos is ducking you, it doesn't work because you turn down the fight, right? You turn down the fight. If what they're saying is true, you turn down the fight because they didn't offer you enough money, right? But they gave you a shot at the fight. And you say that you would accept anything that they offer you, all of that, right? Then you say that in the media, but then you turn around and don't do that. It kind of hits at the argument that the guy's ducking you like that. He may have lowballed you because he's got 4 belts and there's really not that much money in the fight, because I don't really believe there's all that much money in any George Kambosos fight, because George Kambosos is talking like he's the man, but he's really not the man. Nobody is super geeked about seeing what he's going to do next, right? It's really the guys that the fights that are big and lightweight are the fights that were big and lightweight before. Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. George Kambosos is there, but his fan base, at least outside Australia, is not there. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.